Hey guys, this is going to be a new episode of Average Shows. I'm going to call these one takes. Instead of editing together a bunch of videos, this is going to be a little bit shorter, but just some basic cool information that I came up with during the week. Now, this of course is Hobbs from Calvin's and Hobbs from My Mini Factory. He came in multiple parts, and the problem I have is each stripe was printed as well. Now these stripes are, of course, supposed to go on. You're supposed to wrap around, and you're supposed to use super glue over and over again for every single stripe. And I did that for the back. So these parts here were all done. You know what happened? I got tired of getting my fingers stuck with super glue so much. It was kind of ridiculous. So I went ahead and thought, what would it be like if I took a Sharpie and try to color in the spots, because you know there's an indentation for each one of these stripes. So if you look at the tail here, or the arms, okay, so let's look at the arms. So compared to the back, each one of these is plastic. I use a Sharpie on the arms, and if you take a look at the arms here, you can see there's not much of a difference between printing each one of these and wrapping them around and taking a Sharpie and coloring it in. So just because it came with some great detail, don't think you always have to have it in there. There are times when you can finish a piece and make it a lot faster, because I would still be working on this if I hadn't taken the Sharpie and just colored it in. So don't be afraid of thinking out of the box, because a lot of times the results are the same and it saves you a lot of time. Okay, so the next thing we're going to take a look at is Pokeballs and supports. Now I did some Pokeballs here. Let me bring them down. There we go. I got this from Thingiverse. It's in 4 pieces. So I've already glued the white button to the black, right? And then I printed these out. One on an Ender 2, that one, and that's on a GG Aurora 5. This is printed on a CR10. All of them at 205 degrees. All of them have about 10% infill, not much infill, and the bed was heated to 40 degrees. Pretty standard. All without any kind of support. Now for this piece, not a big deal. Did it flat. For these, I did them flat down. You notice that there's a cutout here, but it can easily bridge across it. But I was worried about the inside, what the inside looked like, and the bridging at the top. Now, to make it easier for it to bridge at the top, I used 4 layers for my top and bottom, and 3 perimeters on the side. The 3 perimeters help you stack the layers up higher and higher and higher, and the inside is pretty good. Now, if you take a look at the inside, maybe you see better on the red. Alright, you can see that it bridged fine. There is some bridging problems at the very beginning on the first layer of 4 layers, but the second layer went right over top of it, the third layer went over it, the fourth layer went over it just fine, as you can see. And that first layer, although it's kind of a mess, set up a lattice work for the 3 layers on top. So if you're going to go without a bunch of support, which would have been a lot in this and a lot to take out, just add an additional layer on top, and then you can put it together very easily. Pokemon time. Okay? So if you're doing without support, which a lot of models can handle with no problem, just think about what you have to add. Either more layers, more supports inside of it, more infill. Think of what you need. Some of the nicer models at the top, like this head here, you may need more infill at the top to help bridge it easier without a bunch of supports for like the nose. Okay, and the last thing we're going to look at, I got this from today's 3D print. Chris over at today's 3D print. He printed up these sockets. If you take a look at these sockets, he calls it is this little screwdriver, right? This is also on Thingiverse, and I'll leave a link. You go out and you buy these in the sizes for your nozzle, and then you can push it right up into the hot end and get the nozzle out pretty easily, which is a lot easier to handle than using a regular tool like this. And loosen it, and finally what happens? The nozzle drops down and you don't want to touch it because it's 400 degrees. This will keep the nozzle in place as you loosen it up, and then you can just pull the nozzle away and set it aside. Now, if you have multiple printers, this one's good for CR10, Ender 3, Ender 2, because this is a 6mm nozzle, but I also have a JGR-A5. Well, the JGR-A5 takes a 7mm nozzle, so I need two of these. Now, I first printed out this one. I found it on there, it's supposed to work, and guess what? It is way too loose. So I went back to the drawing board and watched Chris's video again, and I found out that he used these, which are squared off. These come in 3 sizes, which is great. You have small, medium, and large. If you go with the small, it's not going to quite fit in there because it's too narrow and there's a little bit of a lip. So you push it there, and then you take Mr. Hammer and you just lightly tap it in. Easy, easy, easy. I did print this upside down like this. I did use 4 parameters to make sure that when I tapped it in, I was tapping into solid plastic and not the infill. It's a 30% infill on this. It takes about an hour to print. And so now I have a tool for my JGR-A5, and I have one for my CR10. And I forgot to print these in different colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stripe right here using a Sharpie. Silver will be my 7mm. There we go. And my CR10 will be the black stripe here, because I don't want to spend another hour printing these out in a different color. I am just going to go ahead and stripe them like this. And now I know which is which. I've got silver and black. So you can see, if you don't think ahead like I didn't and do it in different colors, because I printed both of these at the same time, that's no problem. You're a maker. You can come up with an identification system very easily, and no problem, hardly an inconvenience. Okay, so today, what did we learn? All right. We learned that just because it comes with pre-printed parts doesn't mean you need to print them out. You can easily find another way to get the same effect and save you time. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have hours and hours and hours to spend on 3D printing. I'm not sponsored or anything. I got a job. So I want this to work as quickly as possible. So don't be afraid to think out of the box to create the finish you're looking for. Probably already in your workspace right now. Also, don't be afraid of bridging. Just think ahead with your bridging. Add some additional top layers to bridge over top of, or if it's a solid piece, increase your infill to cover the bridging across the top. And make sure that you print something. If you're going to fit something in it, you can make it a little bit smaller than you normally would, and you're going to add additional perimeters or sides, so when you tap it in place, you're tapping into solid plastic, and you're not tapping into the infill, which is only 30% infill, which would make this whole thing wobble. But right now it is solid as a rock. This one can go down a little bit more. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this episode of Average Joe's 3D One Shot, and you guys have a great day.